Good morning to you. Delighted to have you all here with us today for our feast day of Christ the King. The overlap in today's readings is an interesting one. We start with the condemnation of the leaders of the people from Jeremiah and the promise of God becoming the shepherd to bring God's people back together, to make them strong again, a community, to help them know again who they are and whose they are. As we look forward, our canticle this morning is actually, who knows who Zechariah is in Luke's gospel? No, not rhetorical. He was the priest of the temple. He's also someone's dad. John the Baptist. That's right. Good job. Well done. All right, that concludes this morning's pop quiz. No more questions. You all get an A. Yes, John the Baptist's dad is praying this prayer of blessing over his son, over John, when he's newly born. Zechariah hasn't been able to speak throughout the whole pregnancy because he doubted the angel's words when the angel said that he would have a son. And this morning he is offering this blessing and talking about what John the Baptist will do and who he will become. And then we have Jesus at the end of his ministry, who is being crucified with the criminals and promising the one who had faith that he would be with him in paradise. Those two bookends, John the Baptist's birth and Jesus' death, define a lifetime in which Jesus defied all of the expectations that were set on him. This Christ the King Sunday, we celebrate a king who didn't come in temporal power to kick Rome out of Jerusalem and sit on David's throne, but we celebrate a king who came as a shepherd, who came to teach us to love, to have compassion for one another, to take care of each other. A king who told Pilate that his kingdom was not of this world. A king who teaches us that even when expectations are heavy on us, what we need to be is who God calls us to be, our true and authentic selves. I think that's a pretty powerful teaching for us. And it's also a pretty amazing gift. I think each of us can probably remember times when we have felt the weight of expectation sitting heavily upon us. I know I actually ran away from my calling for a lot of years because it seemed to me that my dad's expectations were for me to get a job that made a lot of money. And you might be surprised to know that that's not clergy. Now, I knew I had been called since I was 4 years old. And when I first told my mom that I was called, she was very supportive. And my dad warned me. I'm sure he meant it very in a fatherly and helpful way. But he told me that clergy lived in glass houses and had no lives of their own. Which, as a 4-year-old, I pictured the greenhouses on the way to the Pacific coast. And I didn't really want people to be able to see me go to the bathroom. So that was one strike. Next, it seemed that what was really important to my dad was providing for his family and having enough financial security to ensure that we had a future and that he had something to leave to us. And so I felt that weight on me. And when I was in junior high and high school, I remember thinking of all the different possible things that I could be that would make a lot of money. I wanted to be a brain surgeon and a dentist, a rocket scientist. These are all things that I'm still interested in, maybe not dentistry. I also wanted to be an architect, and then I wanted to design and build computers, which I did. But the calling to be a priest never left me. And when I was about 30, I called my dad and told him that I wanted to invite him to my ordination, but that I had to know that he was proud of what I was doing. And he told me that there was no one he was more proud of, and that nothing short of falling in the trough and getting eaten by the hogs would keep him from coming to my ordination. The weight of expectations is hard. Learning to be our true, authentic selves can be difficult. And it's one of the things we try to teach our children. Authenticity, kindness, honesty, and integrity. Those are values that we've made them repeat over and over again throughout their childhoods, into their teens, and we hope they'll carry it with them into life. But I know that they still feel some weight of expectation that we don't intend to put on them. I don't know what those are. Someday I'm sure they'll tell me after they've been through enough therapy. But our Jesus lived life as the Messiah God called him to be, defying all the expectations of his people, all the expectations of the religious authorities, challenging Rome, overturning hierarchies, trying to level the ground so that everyone felt equal before God, to know that they mattered, that they were valued, not in spite of who they were, not because of what they did, but precisely because of who they were and who God called them to be. And he spent a lot of time in his life and ministry teaching people how to claim that inheritance of honoring who they truly were, bringing that faith before God in integrity and hope, and allowing it to direct their lives. When I was finally able to do that, a lot changed for me. And I get to stand here because I grew up to be a clergy person, as I knew I was going to be since I was 4. And despite the weight of the world expecting other things, I claimed that. Each of us has a calling. Each of us has a true and authentic self, sometimes that we run away from, sometimes that we hide, sometimes that we even hide from ourselves. And our Christ, the King of heaven, not on earth, calls us to be our true and authentic selves because that is who God created us to be. Calls us to live into those callings that affirm life, that sow seeds of love and compassion, forgiveness, hope, and that make communities strong and that take care of each other. We're still here in Arvada because this community is strong, because each of us has been called into this place to become part of a family that feels its strength in community, and that, I hope, leaves this place each Sunday feeling nourished and ready for another week in a world that is full of expectations. And so this Christ the King Sunday, as we listen to the prophets, as we listen to Zechariah's hopes for his son, as we listen to Christ blessing the criminal on the cross who has faith in his last moments, may we have the faith to allow ourselves to be who we truly are. May we have the faith to follow the callings that sometimes feel hard, but make everything in our lives worth it. May we find ourselves looking to those around us in faith and hope and love, and seeing Christ reflected back to us in those we encounter in this world. And may we find ourselves strong in our relationships, living our lives with hope, with faith, with authenticity, integrity, honesty. This is our feast day. We get to celebrate together. We get to celebrate being a strong community. And we get to take that hope and that joy with us as we bring our faith to bear on the world outside the doors of this place. And so happy Christ the King Sunday to you. Thank you for being who you are and for bringing your unique gifts and blessings to this place to make this a diverse and strong community. You are a blessing. Amen.